and initiatives that support the goals. That's this process.
I would agree with Christy on this. I, of course, was in the audience during those tedious budget times, but I don't need to sit. I feel like we need to focus our attention on the more important, bigger pictures, not necessarily the copy paper or the pen, which is all important, and I understand that goes to the bottom line. However, I feel like I would like to see the book, but I don't need to have it right this second to you know, look at every single line item. I like how we're doing it right now.
Keith, you have anything to add?
Well, I'll just reiterate what I've said in the past. I see the council's role is driving the policy to build the budget, which is what I think the process has done. And at that point, then you have trust systems in place. If we can't trust the city administrator to follow through with what we feel our policy is, that's where we have an opportunity to make a change. If the city administrator can't trust her directors to put the tools in place, but she has the opportunity to make a change. And it's a trickle-down economics. If you can't trust the individuals, and I think that's where it comes from, is trust systems, which I think is what we've built to accomplish goals, which last year's budget allowed us to accomplish some goals that we hadn't done in the past. This year's budget, I trust, is going to allow us to accomplish some goals that we weren't able to plan for in the past, which is what I think a policy-driven government accomplishes. So that's why I think this process works and doesn't get caught up in the old adage, the devil's in the details. We got caught up in the devil in the details and accomplished very little. We spent hours talking about line items that at the end of the day we didn't change. We just got caught up in the discussion of that. So we've been able to avoid that and focus on the larger, more important issues and driving the policy that we think is going to build the best future. And I think that's what this has always been built around. And I absolutely think in February of last year, that's what we tasked the city administrator with. And said, we trust you to do your job, and if you weren't able to do your job, we have the opportunity to make a change. Fortunately, at this point, we haven't had to do that because the trust systems are there, and she's built the staff around her with that trust system to be able to build to this point with Laura and her team, but down to the director level. So that's what I think we've accomplished. That's what we asked them to do, and that's the policy direction that they follow, and I think it's worked well for us.
Well, and I think Larry and Steve's points are duly noted. And I do think that we want to, when you've got a book that's ready to be presented, the faster that you can make sausage effectively and get that stuff to us, the happier these gentlemen are going to be.
With the city administrator's input and a high-performance financial team, we will grind sausage as fast as we can grind it.
Okay. Are there other questions about?
Wait a second. So, which council member here can answer this question? How does the police budget look this year versus last year? Is it up, down, flat? Anybody know?
Okay.
I'm just curious. Well, wait a second. I mean, everybody.
I won't know until we.
You won't know until the book's published, right?
Right, not until it's published, until we get it. Until we get it.
And the book will be in our hands how many days before the meeting where we all have to decide?
Mr. Mayor, can I come?
Yep, by all means, you have the floor.
Thank you. There's two schools of thought on developing the budget. One is one that is inclusive, that involves public participation, that involves a partnership with the council, that involves a partnership with the staff. The other school of thought is city management, where city managers just develop it, provide a book, and unless you're trained in finance and budget, it takes hours on hours to decipher what's in it. School of thought we have is the one of inclusiveness of the public. Quite frankly, until we get some of the components that we're asking for tonight, we don't know what the final police budget looks like, and I'll tell you why. One of the things we're asking for tonight is what should we put in terms of COLA and merit. Salary is a substantial component of the budget. So I can't tell you whether it's up or down because I don't know whether your COLA is going to go up or down. So if we were to give you, if you ask us tonight what that budget looks like, we'd have to say, well, it depends. Are you going to give a 4%, a 5%, or 6%? Or are you going to give 2%?
And I would probably say, I don't know until you present the numbers as to how they did this year versus last year. I mean, are their expenditures expected to be much greater because they weren't as frugal with the money? I'm probably not going to be in favor of giving merit increases if it's vastly different than last year? I mean, it really, it's an unbelievable argument that I'm having to make here, that we should be able to see this book long before, we should be able to see the elements as they come off the press. I mean, as you get those numbers and think that you have a number that you're building, we should be able to look at those numbers. I feel like, just the fact that I have to argue a second time after the mayor agreed, everyone else agreed, yeah, we were gonna do this a different way next year. And now we're right back to where we were, and the whole time I think, well, you don't want me to see the information, is what goes through my mind.
Well, you tend to argue when you don't get your way, and my question, my answer actually to your question would be, is what policy direction did we give to city staff in regards to the police budget? Did we say, actually staff for 3 more positions? I don't recall that conversation ever taking place. What we did see tonight is we did budget in for 2 additional fleet vehicles for the police force. So I would be able to tell you tonight the budget for the police force is going to be up because of the capital expenditure. So the answer is yes, the budget will be higher than it was. No, there's not a number related to it, but the policy
Where's the
direction.
rest of it?
Again, I go back to policy-driven,
I know, you've got a problem with policy, you like details, you like granular.
That's what we're here to do, is scour the details.
It's not the number, though, it's the policy to say, Cheryl, you need to cut the police budget. Or is that what you'd like to say tonight, is cut the budget?
I don't know.
You know what the
If
operating
it's lower
budget
than it
was
was last year, then I would say they probably did a pretty good job.
But you would know, and you'd be able to get a report if you asked of what the.
I'd like to see what
budgeted
comprises
expenses for
all the
2014.
details for each department. I think that's so elementary, it's just unbelievable that we're still doing this a year later.
You know,
And
we
you shouldn't have made that promise than last year.
You know, I'm gonna ask that you please stop putting words in my mouth.
I'm sure I can find the minutes that,
You've been over there scouring,
I will.
keep looking. You're certainly welcome to, but at this point, I think we've got Steve, I think you understand that
Well, the
your-
quicker-
your opinions are duly noted.
Yeah.
We do have a consensus here
Yeah, well,
to
yeah.
not dwell on this particular matter for too long.
The quicker we get the numbers, the better, because it gives us more opportunity to make informed decisions. That's my concern, and
Sure.
I think that if we are to, take the finance director at her word and her staff at their words, then we will see a book coming quicker than last year. And that's really my concern. My concern was that I did not have enough time last year to be able to make those kind of informed decisions.
And I know that you weren't part of the process when we were
No.
adopting and
No.
moving to a priority-based budgeting system.
This was- I was
Something that
brand new on
the
it.
city administrator brought with her from her previous
Yes.
stops,
Mhm.
something that had been investigated by our finance staff, something that our auditing firm recommended strongly. One of the auditors, a former finance director in Olathe, who'd been using the same process for 12 years. And on top of that, one that the council, I believe, adopted unanimously, but while you're looking through the minutes, Larry, you might be able to find whether or not you voted for priority-based budgeting or not.
I'm in favor of priority-based budgeting, don't get me wrong.
But yeah, but no, and I'm saying,
Yeah,
the sooner that they can grind the sausage and get the book to us,
absolutely.
the better off we will all be. So, with that being said, other questions in regards to what's been presented this evening regarding the 2015 budget?
I think Laura's
We
going
need
to
to
present
give
to
this,
us.
right? We need to give you direction on.
Well, I have something I wanna pass out
Okay.
Okay.
to help.
Can I ask a question while you're passing that out?
Sure.
So, you've mentioned the lighting. Do we get to go through, or can we say yes or no, I mean, is that the direction we're wanting? 'Cause I would agree with what Christie and you said about that. I don't disagree that we should, at some point, upgrade the lighting, but I feel like there's a lot of unknown out there with, the downtown plan and where we're going and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I don't know that it's for this budget, maybe it's the next, I mean, I don't know, do you know what I mean? So, my consensus, I would agree with what he said.
The other side of that is, with an expense like the lighting, it couldn't actually have been passed